Every living organism faces the same basic problem. It needs to exchange gases with the world around it. Cells require certain gases to release energy from food, and they produce waste gases that must be removed before they build up. The respiratory system is the collection of structures that solves this problem. In animals, it often brings oxygen into close contact with body fluids, especially blood, while helping remove carbon dioxide. In plants, gas exchange also happens constantly, although the direction can change depending on whether photosynthesis or cellular respiration is dominating. The important point is that breathing is not just the act of inhaling and exhaling. It is part of a larger system designed to move gases across surfaces efficiently, safely, and continuously. For gas exchange to work, organisms need a respiratory surface. This surface must be thin enough for gases to pass through, moist enough for gases to dissolve, and large enough to supply the needs of the whole body. A tiny organism can sometimes exchange gases directly across its outer surface because no cell is very far from the outside world. Larger animals cannot rely on that alone. Their bodies are too thick, their tissues too active, and their gas demands too high. This is why respiratory systems often create huge internal or external surfaces folded into small spaces. Whether that surface is inside a lung, spread across gills, running through insect tubes, or exposed through plant pores, the same principle applies: maximize contact between the organism and its environment. In land animals such as mammals and reptiles, the main respiratory surface is hidden inside the body. This is a major adaptation to life on land. A delicate gas exchange surface dries out easily, and if it were exposed directly to air, it could lose water quickly and become damaged. By placing the surface inside the lungs, the body protects it while still allowing air to reach it through a network of passageways. The lungs are not just empty balloons. They are organized spaces where air is guided deeper and deeper until it reaches microscopic regions where exchange can occur. This internal design balances two needs at once: access to air and protection of fragile living tissue. In mammals, the journey of air begins through the nose or mouth and continues down the trachea, a large airway often called the windpipe. The trachea branches in the chest into two main bronchi, one leading into each lung. From there, the airways divide again and again into smaller bronchi, then into even smaller bronchioles. This branching pattern is like a tree turned upside down. Each branch carries air towards smaller destinations, spreading it throughout the lungs. The branching also slows and distributes airflow, helping air reach millions of tiny exchange sites rather than rushing through one single tube. The structure matters because efficient breathing depends not only on taking air in, but on delivering it evenly to the places where blood can use it. At the ends of many small air passages in mammalian lungs are alveoli, microscopic air sacs surrounded by dense networks of blood vessels. Alveoli are the heart of lung gas exchange. Their walls are extremely thin, and blood flows very close to the air inside them. This closeness allows oxygen to move from the air into the blood, while carbon dioxide moves from the blood into the air to be exhaled. The lungs contain millions of alveoli, which creates an enormous total surface area. That surface area is what lets a body exchange enough gas to support active organs, muscles, and the brain. A single air sac is tiny, but together they form one of the most important interfaces between the body and the outside world. Breathing itself is the pumping process that moves air into and out of the lungs. Air does not simply appear in the alveoli. It must be drawn in by changes in pressure created by the muscles of respiration. In mammals, the diaphragm plays a major role. When it contracts, the chest cavity expands, pressure inside the lungs drops, and air flows inward. When the breathing muscles relax, the chest cavity becomes smaller and air moves back out. This motion may feel automatic, and most of the time it is, but it is a coordinated mechanical process. Without that pump, even perfectly built alveoli would not receive fresh air, and gas exchange would quickly slow down. Birds use a respiratory layout that is different from mammalian lungs. Instead of alveoli, Birds have air exchange regions associated with structures called atria and airways called parabronchi. Bird respiration is especially efficient because airflow through their lungs can be highly directional, helping maintain a steady exchange of gases. This matters because flight requires enormous energy. A flying bird needs a respiratory system that can supply oxygen rapidly and consistently while removing carbon dioxide. Although the details differ from mammalian lungs, the same core problem is being solved: air must be brought close to a blood supply across a thin surface. Birds show that evolution can solve the same challenge with a different architecture. Aquatic animals face a different challenge. Water contains dissolved gases, but oxygen is far less available in water than in air, and water is much denser to move. Many fish and other aquatic animals solve this with gills. Gills are respiratory organs that are bathed by water either because the animal actively pumps water over them or because water flows across them as the animal moves. Inside the gills are thin filaments and flat lamellae that create a very large surface area. These surfaces are rich in blood vessels, so dissolved oxygen can move from water into the blood, while carbon dioxide moves out. Gills are external or partly external because the surrounding water keeps them moist and supports their delicate structures. The shape of gills is a lesson in biological efficiency. To extract enough oxygen from water, gills must expose a lot of living tissue to a constant flow of fresh water. The filaments and lamellae are thin and flattened, reducing the distance gases must travel. Blood flow through the gill tissue keeps oxygen levels lower on the blood side than in the surrounding water, helping oxygen continue to diffuse inward. At the same time, the animal must avoid damaging these delicate surfaces and must spend energy moving water across them. This trade-off explains why gills work beautifully underwater but are usually unsuitable for life in air. Out of water, they can collapse, dry out, and lose the surface structure that makes them effective. Insects take a very different approach. Instead of relying on lungs and blood to carry oxygen throughout the body, many insects use a network of air-filled tubes called a tracheal system. Openings on the body surface allow air to enter, and the tubes branch inward toward tissues. This system can deliver gases directly to cells without the same kind of centralized lung and blood arrangement seen in mammals. It is anatomically simple compared with vertebrate lungs, but it is highly effective at insect scale. The limitation is that diffusion through tubes works best over short distances, which helps explain why body size and respiratory design are closely linked. Insects show that respiration does not always require lungs. It requires a workable path between cells and the environment. Amphibians add another important variation: the skin can participate in gas exchange. Frogs and related animals often have moist, permeable skin through which gases can diffuse. This does not mean lungs are irrelevant for all amphibians, but it does mean the boundary between respiratory system and body surface can be more flexible than in many land animals. Skin breathing works only when the surface stays moist and when the animal's lifestyle supports it. It is useful in watery or humid environments, but it also makes amphibians sensitive to drying and pollution. Their respiratory strategy reveals a key theme in biology: every solution depends on environment. What works in water, damp soil, or humid forests may fail under dry conditions. Plants also exchange gases, but their respiratory story is often misunderstood because plants both photosynthesize and respire. During photosynthesis, plants take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. During cellular respiration, plant cells use oxygen and release carbon dioxide, just as animal cells do. Gas exchange happens through structures such as stomata, tiny openings found on leaves and other plant surfaces. Stomata can open and close, helping regulate the movement of gases while also controlling water loss. This is a delicate balance. A plant needs carbon dioxide to build sugars, but every open pore can also let water escape. Plant respiration reminds us that gas exchange is not only about animals breathing air, it is a universal requirement of living systems. Across lungs, gills, insect tubes, amphibian skin, bird parabronchi, and plant stomata, the details vary widely, but the underlying logic is remarkably consistent. Life needs controlled contact with the environment. The respiratory system creates that contact by building surfaces where gases can cross, pathways that bring fresh air or water to those surfaces, and mechanisms that protect them from damage. In humans, that means branching airways and millions of alveoli. In fish, it means flowing water over vascular gill tissue. In insects, it means air tubes reaching deep into the body. These systems look different because they evolved for different bodies and habitats, but each one solves the same life or death challenge, keeping cells supplied while clearing waste away. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.